All right, guys, welcome back to the TCI headquarters. Hard to believe that we are just 2 games remaining in the season, just 1 game remaining in Death Valley, Senior Day. It's crazy.
Man, we were just talking before we started recording about, football season's over, and it's depressing.
It is depressing.
I get so depressed, man.
There's no SEC championship. There's no playoff.
Yeah.
It's just not what's supposed to be happening around here.
It's
Pop-Tart Bowl.
Pop-Tart Bowl. I do like Pop-Tarts better than Cheez-Its, but
I do too.
go to Orlando.
Now, if we go to the Pop-Tart Bowl, here's the question I ask if that happens. Do we get to select our Pop-Tarts that we want, or do they just hand us what they
brown sugar,
because
strawberry.
I want the grape.
Grape?
The grape Pop-Tarts. Yes, they're unbelievable.
So here's something for y'all to look
They
forward
very
to.
rarely come out, and when you find them, grab them because they're so good.
We're going to
That's
have
what
a
it's like.
blindfold taste test one day.
Cookies and cream is good. I
Yeah.
love cookies and cream.
Well,
There's no reason to get there's no reason to get anything other than brown sugar or strawberry, in my opinion.
I like blueberry too. So
They all just taste like sugar. So
That's also true.
basically, we just decided just give us all of them.
just go. Don't go to Holiday Bowl. All right, let's get back to interviews. Cameron, I'm going to start with you. After a phenomenal game by the freshman class, obviously Monday was freshman day.
Mm-hmm. And obviously, we've talked at length about the performances on the field from the freshmen, but possibly the biggest moment of the day was TJ Parker before the game taking the American flag down.
Yes.
Obviously, his father, Tommy, was honored during the game. He said that was an emotional moment for him because obviously that's like his superhero. So that was the biggest thing from the freshmen. Obviously, Khalil Barnes also talked about Avion Terrell. People might not have been really familiar with his game, but obviously knew his brother. But he's like, the moment he showed up, that was like, he's been all work 24/7, and it's no surprise that when he goes out on the field, he performs like that.
I've been impressed. He's exceeded my expectations. I figured he would develop into something good, but I didn't realize he was going to come in this season.
Yeah.
When I talked to Avion at your
Freshman event?
freshman event, I got a one-on-one with him, and I asked him about what his expectations were. He says, my expectations to be starting by the end of the year.
And you laughed, and now he's calling
I didn't laugh. But I was a little thrown back to hear a freshman. First of all, you had your confidence, and you like his confidence that you think you can come in and you can get yourself in that position. But then to actually go and do it, and then hear what the coaches say about him, and how Dad always talks about, we knew we had to get him on the field as soon as we could, and that's why they put him in that nickel position first. And I think he's your starter. I heard somebody today say something. Well, you wonder what the Clemson's kind of new guys in the secondary would they. Did you watch Avion Terrell play and how he defended that interception? That looked like a senior.
You're thinking next year he's the starter?
I think he's the starter of the last 2 games.
I think by the nature of injuries and how everything has kind of worked out, they didn't expect it to end up this way, but I don't think there's a way you can take him off the field.
He's a playmaker. And he's very good. His technique is very good.
As we talked about, I think off camera, all the hype around Brown's one-handed catch, but we agreed that Avion's was better because they had somebody
pull down and and he's taking it left-handed. I mean, he's catching it this way, which is
playmakers.
It was impressive.
And then another thing, Blake Miller, obviously the offensive line has been a conversation all year, but he said after these last couple of weeks, it feels like, okay, we've got the fans in our corner now, and they hated when they weren't in that spot. So now it's like, now that we've reached this point, the goal for them, obviously, with their performances, is to keep the fans in their corner.
I got bad news for them.
What?
They won't do that.
No.
Well, offensive line is one position that Clemson fans just love to give grief.
Mm-hmm. Whether they're playing good or bad or not, this is the same result.
The first time they don't do something perfect.
Yeah. But oh my gosh, offensive line's horrible.
But it's been a massive improvement.
Oh, massive improvement.
Absolutely. And deserve credit for it.
Some of that came from injuries. Mm-hmm. They changed things up, and
I think you saw Thomas Austin and Garrett Riley, not Lincoln, Garrett Riley get together, kind of bang heads together and say, let's figure this out. Let's figure out who we got and let's make it work. And you've seen that from both those guys. And so I think you got to commend the coaches for
shout out to
fixing
Thomas Austin.
Yeah, shout out to Thomas
Austin. He gets
Austin.
a lot of that grief.
Absolutely.
And he's obviously very responsible for that.
Absolutely. I saw him and his wife walking the other day, walking past the media center. We were about to do interviews and going on their walk.
Clemson family.
Yeah, they're a Clemson family. Mm-hmm. She was a cheerleader here, I believe, wasn't she? I think so.
don't remember. I'm sure
That's something he would know. Yeah,
Yeah.
that's not our speed.
Yeah. Well, they got married. Remember his senior year in college? He got married. They were still in college when they got
What
married.
did they have at the rehearsal then?
I have no idea. But I did the story for for Orange Experience magazine.
You know, you probably wrote about it then.
I probably did. I just don't remember it. So.
All right. Cameron, a little interruption there. Anybody else you want to talk about from Monday?
No, I think
Okay.
I covered all the
That's
bases
good.
there.
Yeah.
All right, well, we had Dabo
Yeah.
yesterday, or I guess
Tuesday.
No,
And we had him
Tuesday.
yesterday too.
we're a little slack, a little bit later doing this week because
Yeah.
I was out of town. But talk to us about the mood of Dabo and, what's some of the highlights.
Yeah, I mean, I think the mood of Dabo is, he seems like the old Dabo back, if you will. Of course, a lot of the talk was about him and Matt Brown and their relationship and things we've already heard. And
A ton of respect, and it's
It
not
is.
fake
It's
respect.
not fake. It's legit. And Dabo talked about why it's legit because Dabo says, when you're a young coach and he says, I'm not actually coaching like anywhere. I'm coaching at Clemson, and Clemson's, got the history and tradition. So, I called Texas up, and Texas, he says, if he had said no, I've been like, I understand that, But he like, no, come on out, bring your whole staff. And, he said, took him out to dinner the night before, and Dabo was just blown away with Mac's niceness and how, who he was. And Dabo was just like, that's how I'm going to treat people. And so Dabo does that. He'll bring in staffs that from like maybe in the Pac-12 area, stuff like that. Ask, you guys come on out here, and, he hosts them and do things the same way. So Dabo kind of learned talking about how much he learned from Mac on how to be a coach and how to be a coach on and off the field. And he said, then he said, there's things that he says, we're sitting there, going through film study and all, and Coach Brown says, that was like, man, I had no idea. And he's like, I was like a rookie coach. I had no clue this is the kind of stuff you got to do and all.
Right.
So he said Matt kind of taught him that, kind of gave him the ropes a little bit, if you will. And he said he's always grateful for that. So that was a pretty good thing here. We've heard that before, but that was a little bit different part of it, I think.
Yep.
What
else to talk about?
Well, I think obviously North Carolina's offense, which I think that was the other topic of the day. Drake May and how good they are and how good the wide receivers are, and they got that running back who I didn't realize was number 2 in the country in running the football. I mean, he's the ACC's leading average 100.
Stud running back, stud quarterback, stud receiver.
Yeah, they're pretty much studs on offense.
Yes.
The only thing they're not studs at is on the offensive line, and that's where Clemson benefits. So that's a good matchup for the Tigers. But we'll get into that in a little bit, obviously. But yeah, he just really talked about the difference Drake May is as a quarterback compared to, Dabo says he's like some of the guys we've had here. In other words, talking about Trevor Lawrence, Deshaun Watson, those guys. And he says, he's similar to some guys he's seen, like a Jameis Winston and those kind of guys. He's an elite quarterback. There's a reason Dabo says, a reason why he's going to be one of the top 2 picks in the NFL draft.
Was once upon a time committed to Alabama.
Yeah.
You think Alabama wish they had him right now?
Alabama would be
Alabama with
the
Drake
number 1 ranked team in the
May.
country.
There would be no beating Alabama this year.
No, they would be the number 1 ranked team.
Probably would have won it last year.
Yeah, and think about this. So here's something a lot of people don't think about. Drake May's dad started in Death Valley. You might remember this. Is when you were in school. 1986 came to Clemson. The winner would take control of the ACC and win the ACC championship.
A lot of brain cells.
Clemson, Clemson won that game 38-10, and they really got after Drake's dad, Mark May, and so this is not the first time May has come into Death Valley and started the game. His dad did it, and Clemson won 38-10. It was 38-3. Remember Terrence Flagler went all off on him in that game.
Oh yeah, I remember.
And for a couple touchdowns around the left end. Terrence Flagler.
We got Will's prediction right there.
So, but anyway, yeah. So it was not the first Drake May, pro-style quarterback to come into Death Valley, and everybody's saying, how's Clemson going to stop him? Of course, that was 1986, but
Well, and they probably could have, should have, would have lost their game last week. The game with Duke.
Yeah, I mean, that was what a great game that was to watch.
Just get us starting.
10 chances they should have lost. So
starting there.
Good point.
They are a good team, but they are not a elite team.
No, they're not even close to being an elite team. I mean, they're not in the same category with Georgia, and Ohio State, and Miami, and I don't even think Florida State's in that category, to be honest with you. That's a topic for another day. I know Florida State fans, if they're watching, probably don't want to hear that, but I mean, I'm just.
They're not.
They're not. I've watched them. I know what an elite team looks like, and I've seen it up close and personal. Right?
When was that?
Yeah, we saw it for 6 straight years, and Florida State's not in that category. They may sneak into the playoffs, but they'll be exposed very soon in that.
It'll look like the last time they were there.
Yeah, well, last time they were better than this 14. I mean, that 14 team was better than this team.
But I'm saying the game product might look.
Well, the game product might look. Yeah, it might be that same team that does it to them.
Mm-hmm.
Possibly, So anyway, but yeah, that's kind of what it was with Dabo. It was only a 30-minute press conference. It was shortest one of the year.
That's y'all's fault. Y'all didn't ask.
Not 15 minutes.
No Trevor?
What do you think?
Must not have been there. Just saying. Sorry, Trevor.
Straight bullet.
All right, guys. Well, that's a recap of this week's interviews, and as the Tigers prepare to battle the Tar Heels, the final game in Death Valley. Stay tuned to TCI this weekend. We got everything covered from you live from Death Valley, and then we turn the page and talk about another team that we won't use the word Carolina for. So stay tuned to TCI for the most complete coverage of Clemson athletics.